Headline: How a grieving Trump decided to back Lindsey Graham's sister for Senate. The morning after Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina died, President Trump floated his choice to serve the remainder of the term, a little-known House member, Russell Fry, whom he saw as a loyal MAGA foot soldier. Trump had been fond of Fry ever since he defeated a congressman who voted to impeach him. The president relayed the idea to Governor Henry McMaster, who holds the power to appoint an interim senator, on a call that Sunday morning, according to 3 people familiar with the conversation. But McMaster had another name in mind: Darlene Graham, the late senator's sister and an advocate for disability rights in a suburb of Columbia, South Carolina. Nobody seemed to know very much about her. The exchange between Trump and McMaster kick-started one of the most high-stakes weeks in South Carolina's political history, one that has shaped its first open Republican primary election for a Senate seat in more than 2 decades. The scramble culminated when Trump gave Ms. Graham his blessing not only as a short-term caretaker for her late brother's seat, but for the highly coveted 6-year term. The account of how Trump decided to back Ms. Graham is based on interviews with 10 people familiar with the events leading to Trump's decision. It captures a tumultuous stretch for McMaster, who found himself fielding calls from a veterinary emergency room, and a fraught week for the president, whom several people described as uncharacteristically emotional about the death of his friend. Kevin Bishop, who served as Graham's communications director for 27 years, said, "It's mind-boggling, the grieving, the campaigning, the funeral procession, and by the way, there's an election 2 weeks after that, too." Trump's selection of a political unknown is a significant gamble at a critical moment when control of both chambers is at stake. Polls conducted last week showed Representative Ralph Norman, a member of the House Freedom Caucus, leading the entire field. Fry, who is also running, is widely considered a contender, too, as is Mark Sanford, the former South Carolina governor and congressman whose political career was marred by a high-profile affair. Annie Andrews, a pediatrician, is the Democratic nominee for the seat in the solidly red state. If no candidate receives a majority of votes on August 11, a runoff would take place 2 weeks later. McMaster, who was the first statewide elected official to endorse Trump in 2016, spent the night after he learned of Graham's death surrounded by his staff at the governor's mansion. First, they got the word of his death out to Graham's extended political network. Then they pivoted to conversations about who would fill the seat. That's the story behind Trump's surprising endorsement. Thanks for listening.